Good morning, everyone. Another Connect and Share on a Friday morning, and thank you for being with us today. I'm going to shake it up a little bit for those that attend every week, and we're going to change things around a little. But first, may I please acknowledge all the traditional owners of the lands on which we meet today. Today I am on Darug country, and we say Warami, which is welcome and hello in Darug language. And I'm sure you all are working with your relevant Indigenous stakeholders to ensure that we learn from them and their experience they've had on the land and how we can bring that to our use when we interpret the country in which we work. So may I acknowledge all present, past and emerging leaders of which we work with and all Aboriginal peoples here present today. First of all, we're going to jump in to a presentation from National Parks and Wildlife Service. Kyle Finlay, who is also on the board of Outdoors New South Wales and ACT, is going to update us on some of the changes that have occurred with the New South Wales ECOPASS. So if you are a holder of an ECOPASS or you want to be a holder of an ECOPASS, this is a great opportunity to hear really what those changes are and how we can work better with national parks. So Kyle, I might hand over to you and let you take control of the screen.
Thank you, Laurie. Thanks for the introduction. I will now attempt to share my screen. See how we go. Won't be a second. Okay. All right, so let me know when you can see.
Awesome.
See the presentation?
We can see the presentation, we can see your notes page at the moment. So if you flip your screens, we should be able to see the presentation.
Awesome, I might just read it. I might just do it from just this view. It might be a little bit easier. I struggle with these kind of sharing.
Technology is interesting when it works.
When it works, it's brilliant. All right, let me know if you can see that.
That's beautiful.
Beautiful. Okay, so thank you, Laurie. Good morning, everyone, and thanks for allowing me the opportunity to give you a bit of an update on Parks EcoPass, which is the licensing program for our commercial tour operators within New South Wales National Parks and Reserves. Might just go over a bit of a small agenda. So we'll start with an overview of Parks EcoPass. So PEP is, for people who don't know, it's the acronym for Parks EcoPass. We'll go over the reforms and milestones. We'll do an overview of the current and future state, discuss standardised conditions and the process, resources for operators, and then any questions. And if you do have any questions during the presentation, feel free to just jump over and talk over the top of me. I don't mind, and hopefully I'll be able to answer it for you. So I thought the best thing to start off with, just get a bit of an overview of the visitor experience branch. So the Parks EcoPass commercial tour operator licensing program is managed by the visitor experience branch, which obviously sits within New South Wales National Parks and Wildlife Service. And then we sit within the Department of Planning, Industry and Environment. So we manage approximately 9% of New South Wales land. National Parks is divided into 8 separate park operations throughout the states, and the visitor experience branch is responsible for every stage of the visitor experience. So that includes the development of experiences, the marketing of those experiences, the distribution and evaluation of visitor experiences. So there's a little pie chart here, just gives it a little bit easier to represent. So we start with obviously around research and strategy, who our customers are, who the market is, developing experiences and designing those, and then marketing those through our digital content, and distribution through our sales and support. And then there's the experience delivery and management of those. So the delivery and management of visitor experiences includes tourism operators, which is Parks EcoPass, major events, accommodation, education, and also volunteering. So we work with the National Parks branches, so they're the park operations branches across the state, to support consistent delivery of high quality visitor experiences compatible with the natural and cultural environment for where those experiences occur. We also work collaboratively with other agencies and other organisations such as NSW, Destination Networks, NATOC and Tourism, and obviously Outdoors New South Wales and ACT to ensure alignment with existing and future projects and strategies. This is a very high-level snapshot of our commercial tour operators. So currently we have 301 licensed Parks EcoPass operators within New South Wales. And then we've broken them down into the branches. So we have the West Branch all the way down to Blue Mountains, which has the majority of our licensed operators. So we'll head into the overview of the Pep Reforms. So a bit of a project overview. In 2019, National Parks engaged a consultant by the name of Corbett Price to undertake a review of our current processes and who our operators are. So we obviously understand and identify that commercial tour operators are regarded as a critical channel for bringing visitors to national parks and raising awareness of our natural values and providing experiences and aligning those to those values of the national parks. So what we wanted to do as part of the PEP reform is make it more attractive and easier to do business with operators. We acknowledge as a government department, we're probably not the easiest people to do business with, but we have, I guess, updated a lot of our processes internally and also our support for operators to make it easier for businesses to do business with us and also bring visitors into park. And I think one of the overarching, I guess, objectives for national parks is to ensure sustainability and conservation outcomes are achieved in those parks. So we worked with approximately 150 operators. We sent out a survey to all our operators and we received about 150 responses to those surveys. We benchmarked against other jurisdictions within Australia. So we looked at Victoria, Western Australia, South Australia, and all the other states and territories to identify how do they run their processes internally, what support do they give their operators, and what could we do better to lift ourselves up to that level. We consulted with external stakeholder groups and met with all related teams within NPWS to identify ways to build more strategic partnerships. So the majority of the recommendations have been implemented and will assist operators to recover as quickly as possible from the impacts of the bushfires. And the intent was to have these reforms announced a lot earlier so they could support the bushfires. But obviously, we still know that COVID-19 is playing a huge part in what's happening in the moment. So these reforms will absolutely support operators during these times. The reforms went live on Thursday, the 3rd of June. So they were announced by the Minister. They were approved by the Minister in late December last year. And they are now live and up on the website. So you can check out our website. It has all the information around how you become a licensed operator, what you need to do, the fee structure, and any other opportunities. So the key reforms included an improved NPWS value proposition. So it's going beyond the regulatory role and viewing operators as partners. So it's not us just saying, here's your license, go operate. It's almost doing a 360 and saying, we are here to support you. We're here to help you with your business and bring people into park. So significantly improved processes and supporting technology, something we acknowledged in the past. It's taken us quite some time to license operators, and it usually is around that 10, 12, 14 weeks. We have now gotten that process down to 2 weeks. So if you apply today, you will have a license to operate in the park within 2 weeks. Freeing up all that administrative burden, we now have the capacity to focus on more strategic activities rather than that process administration. So those strategic activities are supporting operators on the National Parks website, promoting our operators through our social media channels like our e-newsletter and also through our Facebook channel. So we'll have a look at the current state versus the future state. It gives a really good snapshot of where we were and then what we've done to address those issues that were not, I guess, positive in terms of an operator's feeling and what they now look like. So this is the bit of a customer journey for an operator before the Parks EcoPass reforms. So we've split the stages up into 4. So research, apply, processing and license. And we have timelines of what how long it took an operator to undertake that stage as part of the journey. So we do highlight the objectives. So the research stage is determine eligibility to apply and to understand different license options. I think the really good thing to focus on here is the operator feeling. You'll see the positive is in the yellow and then obviously the negatives in the grey. So we identified what was negative, what were the negative feelings that an operator felt, and what were those touch points, and then we've rectified those as part of the Parks ECOPASS reforms. So I guess the research stage, negative feeling, reading the website and the content on the website, and it lacked clarity and understanding of what the requirements were and obligations for a Parks ECOPASS operator. And then you move into the prepared documents for application. Applying took approximately 1 day. So you'd open the website, you'd have a great feeling going, yep, great, I'm going to be licensed in a couple of minutes. But then you found out the online forms were clunky. We were asking for the same data to be entered more than once, and then complex documents required to apply. And everything was paper-based at the time. So you complete the payment form. No one ever likes paying any money, so that's generally a negative feeling. And then you move into the processing stage. So once you apply, we'll receive your application, and then it goes through the processing stage internally. So that stage took approximately 70 days, sorry. Previously mentioned that it's about that 10 to 14 week mark. So we acknowledged that there was a huge, I guess, opportunity for us to flip that on its head. We did acknowledge that we have excessive handoffs and approvals internally. The same activities performed differently by each of the regional branches, and there was a lack of outgoing contact from the NPWS to basically say where your application and approval is up to. And we would also send out our licenses by post, so it was all paper-based at the time. You would then receive your license, and there was no ongoing support from us in terms of promotion through our e-newsletter and through our social media, and also even we didn't have the opportunity to promote operators at the Australian Tourism Exchange. So we move into the post reforms. So our intent as part of the reforms was to get that operator feeling all within the positive row. So we've still got the same stages: the research, apply, processing, and license. And you'll see the timeframes or the timelines have significantly decreased in how long it would take an operator to complete that stage. So the research stage was 5 days. So we've reshaped the website, so it now provides more clarity around the eligibility criteria and the application information. Supported by the pre-application discussion to manage expectations requirements. So before you do apply, as part of the research stage, we do ask that you contact us, and we can help you through any of the information about any of the parks or the activities, and we can discuss what those conditions already look like for those parks. So you can say, yep, this is great, I can comply with those conditions, or maybe I should consider looking somewhere else. The application phase now takes 30 minutes. So it's a very simplified application process. We're not asking for the same data twice or even 3 times. And we are in the process of developing a new customer relationship management portal to improve your experience. The processing is where we've seen a huge change in what we did previously. So now it takes a maximum of 2 weeks to get a license. The 2 weeks is for any park that is not a jointly managed park. So a jointly managed park is where it's managed by an Aboriginal committee and community, where the application will be required to go to that community and committee to review and approve. So we've accelerated approvals for standard applications within the 2 weeks, and we've done this by having pre-approved standardised conditions across all parks. So there's about 515. We've reduced it from that 600 to about 515, and originally it was a tick over 1,500. Those conditions are all online now, so you can have a look. You can filter by your activity, you can filter by the park you want to operate in, and your conditions are already there. We do now issue digital licenses, so no more sending out licenses through the mail. You'll receive it as soon as it's approved from the area. And then the last stage is the license and ongoing. So we now support operators to promote their business, improve the visitor experience, and protect sustainability and conservation in the parks and reserves. And we have a more significantly improved compliance program, because we have seen a lot of operators who do have licenses reporting operators who don't have a license at all and not doing the right thing. And previously we have had inconsistent approaches to how we manage those. So now we have a compliance matrix up on the website. So it clearly articulates, if you're not a licensed operator and you're operating in park, these are the ramifications.
Well, just a quick question on the joint management parks.
Yes.
Are they easy to identify by someone that's looking to participate in one of those parks?
Yes, we're currently working with our Aboriginal Heritage Partnerships Unit to identify all those parks. So you can have essentially one agreement which could cover approximately 20 parks. So we're identifying all those parks before, I guess, an operator wants to apply on those, because the operator could understand, well, I want to start operating now, maybe I'll look at a different park. We're currently going through that stage, but if an operator does apply for a jointly managed park now, we can acknowledge that with an operator straight away.
Great, thank you.
Yep. Perfect. So next slide is around, it's still on the current state versus the future state. So this is, I might make it a little bit larger if that helps. So this is a really clear snapshot, essentially, of what we offered, or what we didn't offer before the reforms, but now what we offer. So license fee discounts, we didn't offer any of those previously, but now we do offer a free license for Aboriginal owned operators for the first 2 years of operation. That's for new and also the existing operators. We offer discounts for licenses in less visited parks, so that's encouraged dispersal. We acknowledge that we have a lot of operators, for example, in Blue Mountains National Park, Royal National Park, so we want to encourage operators to go to those parks that are less visited, and therefore they'll pay a lower license fee. There's a reduced annual license fee for multi-year licenses. Previously, our 1 year license fee was the cheapest. So we saw about 85% of our operators renewing their license every year, because understandably it was the cheapest and they wanted to pay the lower rate. So we've flipped that on its head, and to give businesses business assurance that they will continue operating in park, we offer 3 year and 5 year licenses, and annually those licenses are now cheaper than the 1 year license. And we also offer a 10% discount for any industry accredited businesses. Payments were previously done quarterly, and there was 3 different daily use payment rates. Now payments are done on an annual basis, and the daily use fees are simplified, and location-based discounts offered in less visited parks to again encourage dispersal from year 2. So that's the 22-23 financial year.
Sorry, Kyle, can I ask one more question? Because I know it's going to come up.
Go for it.
Just in the license fee discounts, and obviously in the next line item, which is accreditation, what are the industry accreditation systems that you recognise?
We do. I apologise, I don't have them off the top of my head, but we do have them listed on our website. I can send that through to everyone. We'll send that through to you.
Send it through to me, and I'll include on the newsletter for the members on Monday. Yeah, great. Thank you.
Brilliant. Thank you. For some of those are around the surfing, Ecotourism Australia, surfing Australia. So those types of those industry businesses and accreditation, we do acknowledge, and we will offer that 10% discount. And I'll send through a full list of what's on there at the moment. Accreditation. So previously, to hold a 3 or a 10-year license, an operator was required to have accreditation. We have removed that step, so now it's not mandatory for any license holder if they want a longer term license to have accreditation. And then again, we do offer that 10% discount on annual license fees for industry accredited businesses. So if you're a new operator, haven't never been operated or offered a license by national parks, you can apply for a 5-year license without having any accreditation. License assessment time, previously mentioned, that's now down from that 10-week to 14-week mark to 2 weeks. Promotion, previously we haven't promoted our operators at all, not on our website, not on our e-newsletters, or not on Facebook. So tour operators now have a profile on the National Parks consumer website. We have approximately 220, about 230 operators promoted on the National Parks website. And each operator is given that opportunity when they apply for a Parks EcoPass license. Greater promotional support across the National Parks marketing channels. As previously mentioned, it's our e-newsletter, which is sent out to about 300,000 people, and also our Facebook page. And then a couple of weeks ago, we had a couple of our National Parks colleagues promote approximately 24 of our operators and their experiences at the Australian Tourism Exchange. So online resources, previously we've had the Environment, Energy and Science website. So we have two websites. We have the Environment, Energy and Science website, and we also have the National Parks website. So the National Parks website is our custom-facing website, but everything relating to licensing and the Parks EcoPass program is on the EES website. So now we have a more structured and organised webpage. We have an operator handbook, which we like to call the Bible for operators. It gives an overview of the Parks EcoPass program, what we offer, who we are, what a matrix on all the activities and what parks they're permissible in. We also have a video introducing the licensing under the Parks EcoPass program, an online assessment for all new applicants, and a license template and standardised conditions, compliance matrix. We've also developed an annual report for operators to use. So there's a template on that. And there's also a template for a business plan. Training. So previously we haven't offered any training, but we are currently in discussions with the New South Wales Aboriginal Tour Operators Council to develop a complimentary online Aboriginal cultural awareness training. So watch this space. I think it's a really good opportunity for operators to have that 101 high level understanding of what it means, well, what Aboriginal culture means and what it means for Aboriginal people and the parks that we manage. License conditions. So previously our license conditions were varied across operators. So for example, an operator, two operators in Ku-ring-gai Chase may be doing the same activity, mountain biking, but they will have completely different license conditions. So now all the conditions are pre-approved. They are set by the park, set by the branch, and then by the activity. So all license holders now adhere to the same license conditions. So there's no, I guess, yeah, more support for one operator in terms of their license being less restrictive than another. Compliance. So previously compliance was all very ad hoc in how we managed it, but now we have a more targeted compliance program, and we do have that compliance matrix that sits behind it, and there's actions against each of the conditions. If you don't adhere, if an operator doesn't adhere to those conditions, then there is an upfront action that we can take, and that's all acknowledged on the National Parks website.
Kyle, do you want to just expand on the addition that is now the AAAS incorporation? Because I noticed Dave's just asked about the compliance of the actual the adventure activity standards, and yeah, maybe if you can just highlight that.
Yes, yeah. So previously in our license templates, we did refer to the New South Wales Adventure Activity Standards. Obviously, they were superseded by the Australian Adventure Activity Standards, probably almost 2 years ago, or even more now. Mm-hmm. So we have now incorporated that into our license template to say that if there is an Australian Adventure Activity Standard for an activity you undertake, you are, I guess, required to understand and acknowledge and adhere to those. That condition is also in our compliance matrix. So if an operator, for example, mountain biking, if they don't adhere to the Australian Adventure Activity Standard for mountain biking or for rock climbing, then there is a first, second and third instance, and what we will do if an operator doesn't comply with those. So yes, we've updated it. We've acknowledged that the New South Wales Adventure Activity Standards were quite old and superseded, so we have updated it to reflect that.
Brilliant, thank you.
Thank you. And selective licenses. So selective licenses where we give an opportunity for a location or an activity to a select number of operators. Previously, we've had limited opportunities for those, but now we'll have more opportunities available for operators to express their interest in these types of activities or precincts in offering a more innovative nature-based experience. So we have a selective license, or we have 2 selective license operators operating at figure 8 pools at the moment. And we currently have an expression of interest out for motorised boat tours to Broughton Island and Fingal Island within the Port Stephens region. So we will be focusing on bringing out more of those opportunities within our national parks. Some of the resources for operators. So some of the resources we have developed is a more, I guess, easy to read, user-friendly and comprehensive Parks or EES Parks ECOPASS webpage. We do now have the Parks ECOPASS Operator Handbook. We have a fact sheet about the reforms themselves, what's changed, what are the benefits for an operator, general license conditions, the activity and location license conditions, a compliance matrix, the business plan, annual report, and then we've got the upcoming complementary Aboriginal cultural awareness training. So what I'll do, I'll pull those all out and provide links to those, and I'll send them through to Laurie to send through to everyone. They're a really good read, and it makes life a whole lot easier for our operators to understand who we are, what we do, what their opportunities are, and how we can promote them. The standardised license conditions. So I've previously touched on these, and as I mentioned, we had a tick over 1,500 license conditions previously. So now we've got that down to 515 conditions. So before the reforms, the wording was inconsistent between conditions and within the branches. Conditions differ to the same activities on parks or all parks across different operators. Conditions already present in the license are repeated in the site-specific conditions, and then some conditions refer to common laws and regulations. So it's something that's not enforceable and that shouldn't be in a license. And then some conditions refer to general information and shouldn't also be in the license, which is now all in the operator handbook. So conditions after the review are now more consistent with their wording between and within branches. Conditions only differ between activities and locations. There's no repetition between the standard body of the license and the activity and location conditions, and the conditions are specific to commercial activities. And then all that, as I mentioned, all that general information is now stored in the Parks ECOPASS Operator Handbook.
Brilliant. Oh, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Great info. One big question, which I know there's probably 2 people online that are dying to hear your answer to this.
Hopefully I'll have an answer.
They both represent community recreation. So obviously they're not commercial and they access parks for their active recreation pursuits, being scouts, guides, orienteering, that type of thing. How do you work with them, and how do we ensure that they are licensed correctly, accredited correctly, able to access national parks in the right way?
Sure. So the Parks ECOPASS program, as Laurie mentioned, it's all around the commercial tour operators. If it isn't a commercial activity, then we do license it, or the licensing or the approvals sit outside of the Parks ECOPASS program. So they can potentially sit within a small scale event. But if they are ongoing, we can look at a more permanent licensing program. We do, I guess, the guidelines, and I will send these through to Laurie so she can pass it on to everyone. The guidelines is generally not around the business themselves. So for example, we do license some not-for-profit organizations because the intent of the experience that they provide is to generate revenue which exceeds the costs of running the experience. So essentially, if the costs of if the revenue from the experience exceeds the costs, then it's deemed commercial in the eyes of a program. So that would mean it would fit under the Parks ECOPASS program. But if that revenue does not exceed the direct costs, then it's not deemed to be commercial and can fit within our small scale events approval process.
Okay, so just trying to get that into my head. Maybe there might be some questions from those that this is relevant for. So that means all costs associated. So even if it's volunteer run, it's probably considering that in-kind value.
No, it's only in-kind value is not considered, is not counted in as part of it. So it's any financial, any direct financial. So if there are any payments, so for scouts, for example, I'm not very good with scouts, so I apologize. But if one of the scouts' children pays $200 to do the experience, but generally it only costs $150 for that person to undertake it, then the revenue exceeds the cost, so it would be deemed commercial.
Yeah, great. And I think Stuart, you might want to chime in here, but no one in Scouts actually pays for activity because it's encompassing in a subscription over a course of is it a year?
Not necessarily the subscription, because the activities are normally funded by an activity team, so they basically just cover the cost of the equipment for the day.
Okay.
But not necessarily pay that, because staff aren't paid, obviously, but they just cover the cost of the equipment. So what we normally do when we play in the national parks is go through a small event form, apply that to the national parks, because we normally play in the same national park. So I normally do for the whole year for the dates that I've got intended to go there to use the event. But that's how we manage it, and we've got to then change our insurance to put some wordings in there that national parks would like to see in there for us. So.
Yep. And that's, I think, that the approach you're taking, Stuart, is correct. If it's not exceeding, if the costs, or sorry, the revenue is not exceeding the direct costs of running it, then it fits under that small scale. And we recognise that direct wording in the insurance is a bit of a hassle, but it's just something that we've been asked to do by our policy team. And so it's a bit of a frustration, a bit of a bugbear for some of our operators, but totally understand.
Yeah.
Because our insurance normally rolls over November 1 for us. So sometimes we have to prod the insurance people to get the wording to resend that to the national parks.
Yeah.
That's our problem.
Great. Awesome. Thank you, Kyle. Thank you so much. And I just must reiterate to those that may be hearing impaired and watching the live transcript, I apologise that we've called the parks ECOPASS Popsicles and Psychopath programs. But it is the National Parks ECOPASS. So our first time that we've used live translation.
That's brilliant. I'll have to make sure that my articulation of Parks ECOPASS is much better next time.
Okay, now it's toxic.
I did see that one.
Before you go, Kyle and Laurie, have we got time for me to ask a quick question?
Yeah, go for it, Hugh.
Yeah, sorry, Kyle. I think you probably know what's coming, and I'm sort of a bit sorry to do it to you, but at the same time, I'm just not so sorry. I'm not going to ask. And I just need to really preface the question for anybody else listening to say that so at Blue Mountains Climbing School, we've had actually quite a positive experience with this program, and particularly in regards to the collegial approach that Kyle mentioned. Particularly Sarah, there's been really good, rewritten some conditions so that they make more sense, and the reduction of the number and complexity of those conditions is fantastic. But I guess now I'm getting around to the pointy end of what I wanted to ask Kyle, which is how do you think this is fitting in with the regions? And so there's two things in particular I think that stand out with my recent experiences that I'm not sure fit as well as they might with what you've been discussing. So one is the diversity of areas, and that's great for bushfires and COVID and all of those reasons. And we've got some restrictions from the Warrumbungles National Park in particular, not allowing, not just us, but a number of operators. And I know that's sort of hindering a number of us being keen to sign on to these new conditions and finalise the passes, not being able to operate in those areas over school holidays. And the other one is just wondering how you thinking the AAAS in terms of numbers and those restrictions at a park level, are they sort of being seen there and taken on board, or is there a bit of room for improvement on those?
Yeah, good question, Hugh. And I knew that first one was coming. Absolutely.
Yeah, sorry, mate.
No, don't apologize. Don't apologize. I absolutely acknowledge the I guess the condition and the park that you refer to, and my conversations directly with the area. So just a little bit more of a background for everyone. There is a condition for Warrumbungles due to its capacity and overcrowding at the moment, because we've seen about approximately 100% increase for visitation to our parks. So there has been some conditions placed on commercial operators to manage when they can operate in the park. And Hugh has acknowledged there's one in Warrumbungles, which I've discussed with the area at length. And correct me if I'm wrong here, but I did go back hopefully a couple of days ago to you and just acknowledge that I understand your concerns, and I'm still, the condition stands as is, but I'm still working with the area to ensure that that condition is actually relevant for the park. So yeah, it's the difficulty at the moment is with some areas, getting them to understand that operators provide a greater value to national parks than your general public user most of the time, because of the experiences that they offer and the interpretation of the park values, the plans of management, everything that they offer as part of their experiences that you don't generally get as a general punter to the park. So I acknowledge that is one condition probably across the state that has created some concern, and I'm absolutely still working on that. So please bear with me, Hugh, while I work through that one, because I know my manager is also aware of it, and our director is also aware of it. So it's something that we will be discussing even at further length. Around your second point, hopefully that was a sufficient answer for you, Hugh, but around your second point in the AAAS, so National Parks has acknowledged, look, we don't want to put, if there are the Australian Adventure Activity Standards and there are standards around certain activities, we don't want to put restrictions on client to guide ratios, group sizes that either exceed those types of standards or even, I guess, decrease the group sizes and the client to guide ratios based on standards that have been worked through and are applied across the whole of the country, whole of Australia. So there are certain circumstances where we do apply a lower guide to client ratio or a lower group size. That's because of the location itself. There's not many of those conditions within the parks, so but they are restrictive because of the need, I guess, to manage that certain location. So yeah, we won't be placing too many of those kind of conditions across the state, but we'll be working with the areas to ensure that they don't attempt to apply any of those sort of restrictions where they're not really valid.
Thanks for that, Kyle, particularly the first one. I guess I'll stay tuned and reserve judgment to see how we get on. But with the second one, I guess just to frame it a little bit more, remember our plan of management meeting for the Blue Mountains National Parks, I don't know, it might have been even a month ago now. And a big chunk of that was taken up talking about ratios, but there didn't seem a great understanding of the AAAS. And when I brought it up, it sort of seemed that there was a bit of it's a thing perhaps, but it doesn't apply to us. We're doing something different. So that there didn't necessarily seem to be an understanding that actually it's already been done. It's there for the industry to use, and just cut and paste it out of that document rather than reinventing the wheel. Yeah.
Oh, look, I totally agree with you. And that's some of the conversations I had with the planner management team after the meetings. And I was brought into that last minute just to provide that support if any of those sort of questions or issues were raised. And I have acknowledged that, with the planner management teams, that there are those standards, and where they can and should be applied, where they can be applied, they should be applied. So yeah, they will be acknowledging those as part of the, I guess, their review of all stakeholder meetings and any feedback that they get. And then obviously they'll be doing an internal consultation with us. So that's something that I'll be providing them feedback on.
Brilliant.
Judy, thanks, mate.
We use
Thanks,
those.
Judy.
Yeah, it's
Absolutely.
vital.
Yeah, they're an invaluable document, and yeah, we absolutely appreciate those and acknowledge that they're an important part of the industry, and we should be working to those.
Great. Thank you so much, Hugh, for that. And Dave's got a question.
Yes, I was just wondering if at some stage, as Victoria's permit system has failed again, so yeah, we over the last 40 years I've seen a few fail, but I'm interested in some of the stuff you've got there. I'll have a bit of a read through the website. Would it be possible at some stage to have a chat with you when I'm allowed into New South Wales as to maybe how we could improve? We've got to do a review of the Victorian one. It's overdue anyway. Of the types of things that we could do the same, because we get a lot of people going across borders, and that's the other thing. That's the other thing, I guess, is that probably needs to be looked at in the future is transportability of permits across borders. It might not be possible in the short term, but as we travel around Australia more, it might be better if all the jurisdictions would allow an operator from another jurisdiction to move in within whatever constraints there might be. It might be something for the next time we do a review.
Yeah, look, I'm more than happy to catch up with you, David. I'm sure Laurie can pass my details on, and we can have those conversations, and I can run through everything in sort of as much detail as possible. So just to brand out our process that took us about 18 months and what we identified, and I'll share with you anything and everything I can. And look, I think it's a good point around it's almost cross tenure, cross border licensing, and if there is that opportunity, because we do know that there are some operators around that New South Wales Victoria border, and even up to the Queensland and New South Wales border. So yes, if an operator could have one license that covers New South Wales and Victoria and only have to pay one license fee, I think it's a win-win for the operator, especially.
Yeah, agreed.
And I guess the other thing is that I'm involved with Laurie and others in looking at the good practice guides, the adventure activity standards. So, for instance, if Parks New South Wales thought that a standard should be written for a particular activity, a good practice guide that doesn't exist and where it's unclear, might be highlighting, for instance, which one is in the process of getting written. That's something that you could feed back through to Laurie, and Laurie would put together a team of people like myself and you and others to perhaps look at this. Yeah.
That sounds great. That sounds fantastic, because we license about 32 activities at the moment. So I think there's definitely some opportunity to support operators by providing those good practice guides.
Brilliant. Yeah, that's great. And Dave's right, the highlighting one is certainly one that been requested a lot. So we're underway on that.
Yep, that's great. Thank you, Dave.
Anyone else have any questions for Kyle before we let him relax and we get onto the week that was? No? Okay.
No.
Thanks, Kyle, again for being here, and we'll continue on with the rest of our news, which is quite comprehensive given the recent happenings across this state and ACT. So let's quickly go through them. Well, first of all, Happy New Year from a financial year perspective. So that brings an incredible amount of changes and also some refresh on the look towards the year ahead. But this week has been quite busy in the fact that we had a meeting with the Australian Small Business and Family Enterprise Ombudsman. And if you remember, they were doing the insurance inquiry into the challenges of getting insurance in today's world. They invited us to this meeting because of our response to that inquiry from the outdoor sector. And what they're doing is a review of the mutual. If you remember, Lara came and presented their consideration for establishing an insurance mutual to our organisation or to our industry, and there was a meeting on that. Look, the takeaways from that meeting was certainly that we are very distinctively different as far as our risk management and values are concerned. We at the OCA level are going to be discussing the direction that we could possibly support the outdoor industry in this area. We don't feel it's possibly the mutual that is being presented by ALAR at this point in time, but I will keep you updated as that transpires. I wanted to bring your attention to an event which is actually happening in Newcastle in April 2022. So this actually involves any people that have accommodation facilities within the precinct of Newcastle and surrounding areas, and that is the 19th Australian Deaf Games. Again, scheduled for April 22 in Newcastle and Lake Macquarie area. They will be occurring from the 16th to the 23rd of April, and possibly expecting up to 1,000 people actually attending that event in various venues right across the area. They are in need to look at accommodation options that are available and affordable in the area. So they've reached out to us and hoping that we can assist them with some of our camp infrastructure and inventory. So if you have a facility within the Newcastle, Lake Macquarie, LGA areas, and you are interested in offering your facilities to this event, can you please email me directly or email Leslie if you've got her email address, and we will certainly put you in touch with the guys from the Australian Deaf Games and the New South Wales coordination of New South Wales Deaf Sports, which are participating in the games. So yeah, please get in touch if you can. The other thing that's happening this week is we're recruiting the project officer role for the grant that we're implementing. So applications are now closed, and thank you for the overwhelming response that we had. I now have the undue task of going through every applicant and interviewing them hopefully next week. NOEC, a big alert to everyone. The dinner is now at capacity. So if you are interested in the dinner, there's only about 5 tickets left for the dinner for the National Outdoor Education Conference. If you haven't booked your tickets, please make sure you do. Jump on the website and grab one of those last remaining tickets. The conference is getting close, but certainly we have a few more tickets on offer because of capacity limits. And if you can register quickly, that'll give us a clearer picture on how we can limit our capacity and our numbers regarding that event. A CARA review is due 7th of July. So if you haven't responded around the curriculum and it's important to your business or your operation, I encourage you to do so. We're compiling our submission as we speak. If you want to understand our response to that, please again email me and we will share some points with you that you may be able to incorporate into your submission. An important change to the membership of Outdoors New South Wales and ACT. And one thing I was going to mention as the new financial year commences also is that I encourage every member to go and grab a new member, because what that enables us to do is to look at the programs that are that little bit further reach in a financial capacity to allow us to do. Things like mentoring programs, things that you've actually mentioned in your membership feedback, we can actually act on if we increase our membership capacity. So if every member could tap another potential member on the shoulder and get them to join, hopefully this year we'll get some of those programs up and running with the financial support that it needs. So I encourage everyone to do that. But one important membership change is the Joey subscription. So the Journal of Outdoor Environment and Education is available for every member. It was incorporated your membership up until the 30th of June. Now it's just a $35 extra plus GST on top of your membership. You can subscribe onto our website to get access to that. And there is between 2 and 3 journals released every year and providing valuable articles and research into our industry. So if you're interested, jump on the website and subscribe. Great news at the PLA conference that is coming up later on this year. We have been chosen, or I will be speaking at that event to showcase the outdoors in that collection of industry and stakeholders. So very great news there. And the final one there, which is the research. I mentioned a couple of weeks ago that we were working with the Office of Sport on doing some extra research in why schools do not do more outdoor education. And we now have the survey live. So if you are a camp provider, a journey provider, an activity provider for schools, if you could please fill out that survey for me or for the research, because it will help in matching against some of the schools' responses and get a clearer picture for us on how we improve schools' access to outdoor education. So yeah, really encourage you all to do that for me. Okay, probably the topic you've all been waiting for, and that is around COVID. So ACT have mandated the Check in Canberra app as of yesterday, mandatory for a lot more businesses. There are fines in place if you do not encourage your visitors to use that, as well as fines for people that do not check in into your facilities within the ACT. The mask wearing mandates are also in, so please check your regular updates on the COVID website for the ACT on anything that changes there. New South Wales, I'm sure you're all very well aware. I do have the website open if we want to ask any questions, but Greater Sydney stay-home orders, and we've got the regional New South Wales restrictions are currently in place. As I mentioned this morning on a quick check-in that I threw up on Facebook and Instagram this morning, there is a lot of rumours out there around Department of Education and what mandates they're going to put in for students in Term 3. At the moment, they are rumours and speculation. We are working with the Department of Education on that, and hopefully we'll get access to the announcement as soon as anything is made. But they are closely liaising with Department of Health on what the conditions may be, considering numbers, outbreaks, tracing, etc. So all we can do at the moment is work with them on this journey and be there to certainly inform on impact, but also how we may work with them on being the best risk managers we can for this outbreak. So we expect an announcement early next week, Tuesday or Wednesday at this point, but if there's any updates, we will certainly let you know as soon as we know. Does anyone have any questions in relation to the current COVID situation? If you want to access the meeting that we held on Wednesday of this week, I had an open session with some members and we talked in detail about some of the requirements and the confusion in some of the wording. Email us and we will send you a link to that. It's not a publicly accessible link. It is via the link only and you can view it through there. So we're happy to send that to you if you wish to review it. Okay, we might move forward on the last little bits of today, which is all New South Wales businesses that are affected by this latest lockdown and can prove a decline in their trade over a 2-week period are eligible for the new grant that was announced this week. So it won't be available until probably the end of this month, but certainly rest assured that there is some support that is being presented to some of the businesses that are disadvantaged by this last couple of weeks. And the other thing that we need to know is that Discover vouchers, we talked about the extension to July last week, now it's August. So for those that do offer Dine and Discover vouchers, you can continue to have them redeemed in your place until the 30th of August. And the final one, as we say, 1 July, new changes, new start, all things considered. If you are a business, there are quite a few different changes that you need to consider in your operations. First is the minimum wage increase, which we spoke about a couple of weeks ago, and the mandating of the increase of 2.5%. But we also now have increased our super as of yesterday, up to 10%. So you are now required to pay 10% superannuation for all your employees. For those that have self-managed super funds, there's actually some changes there. So I thought I'd point that out because I know that there's an increase in people getting self-managed super, and it's important to just check those updates. And the other one, which is encouraging, is the drop in tax rate for companies. So it was 27.5, it is now 25% for under a 50 million trade or a turnover. And there's more tax relief measures that were implemented last year that continue through this year, like instant tax write-offs with your assets and so forth. So lots of changes, beginning of a new year, and let's see what 21-22 brings. So with all that said and done, just a quick reminder, if you haven't got your tickets, make sure you get in because we're about to close it off in some of the activities, and particularly the dinner. So due to COVID restrictions and limitations on numbers in venues, we found ourselves with the dinner having to close that off a little bit earlier than we expected. But it's important for the safety of all the attendees to that event. So jump in, grab your tickets, and we'll make sure that you can attend what is going to be one of our biggest events in the last few years, and yeah, get together face to face. Great. Has anyone got any questions they wish to ask or anything that they want to promote or discuss? I'll stop sharing. Great. I think everyone's satisfied with today's content. If you have anything else you want to discuss with me in private, please do not hesitate to contact us or come to our lovely happy hour, which is at 4 o'clock. And that you come with drink in hand and a great ability to have a chat about anything and everything. So you can find the link on our Facebook page, and we hope to see you there. Have a great day, everyone.